I'm going to tell you about a monster. I'll tell you the monster's name. It's going to sound like a word in Spanish. El Tragadabas. Doesn't it sound like Spanish? If you know Spanish, you might even know this word, traga. It means swallow. Listen to his name again. Tragadabas. Traga. Tragadabas. Can you guess what he wants to do to everybody? He wants to swallow people. He wants to swallow people so much they call him El Terrible Tragadabas. The terrible Tragadabas. This is what happened. It was a long, long time ago, and there was a grandma, una abuelita, a grandma, una abuelita con tres nietecitos. There was a grandma with three little granddaughters, una, dos, tres nietecitas. The littlest girl was not very big, and her grandma just called her Pequeñita. Pequeñita means little bitty. She was such a tiny little girl, her grandma called her Pequeñita. The middle girl was taller, and the grandma called her Mediana. Mediana means middle size. She was just about a middle-sized girl. So her grandma called her Mediana. And then the oldest girl, La Mayor, she was big. And her grandma called her Grandota. Grandota means great big. She was such a tall girl. Her grandma called her Grandota. And the grandma was raising those girls all by herself. It was a lot of work for the grandma. But they were good girls. And when they had helped her a lot, she would give them some money and they could run to the store and buy some little cakes with honey. Because this was a long, long time ago. They didn't have candy bars way back in those days. They had little cakes with honey. They called them pastelitos con miel. One day the grandma washed all the clothes. When the clothes got dry, she started sorting them out. She looked at all the little bitty socks. And what do you suppose she saw? They all had holes in them. She looked at the middle-sized socks. You can probably guess what she saw. También tenían agujeros. They had holes in them too. She looked at the great big socks, and you know what she saw. Todas las medias grandotas también tenían agujeros. The great big socks had holes in them too. The grandma said, "Oh, vale más que remendemos estas medias ahora mismo. We had better mend all these socks right now." She sat down in her rocking chair. She had all the socks on her lap. She called for the girls. They came running to her, and they sat on the floor in front of her. The grandma gave one pair of little bitty socks to Pequeñita. Do you remember which girl that is? The little bitty one. She gave two pairs of middle-sized socks to Mediana, the middle-sized girl. 3 pairs of big socks she gave to Grandota, the great big girl. And they all went to work mending the socks. It wasn't very long before the little bitty girl, Pequeñita, looked up. She said, Abuelita, ya acabé. She said, Grandma, I'm all done. Ya acabé. And the grandma said, what a good girl. You can go to the store and buy some little cakes with honey. She gave her some money, and the girl went running down the street, singing to herself, Tiri-di-li-li, tiri-di-li-li. That's a song in Spanish. Let me sing it for you in English. In English, it goes like this. Tiri-di-li-li, it's the same thing. She got to the store, but the door was closed. She knocked on the door. From inside the store, a voice said, Oh, ¿quién es? It was the monster. He said, ¿Quién es? That means, who is it? And the girl answered him. She said, Soy pequeñita. I'm the little bitty girl. And the monster said, Pequeñita, pequeñita, don't you come inside. I'm the Tragadabas. I'll swallow you alive. But the little bitty girl had never even heard about the terrible Tragadabas. She said, Tragadabas? What's a Tragadabas? And she opened the door. She went into the store. She looked around her. She didn't see anybody. But suddenly, from behind the door, out jumped the Tragadabas. The girl started to run. She ran out of the store. She ran away up the street as fast as her little bitty legs would carry her. And she came to a big tree. She climbed up to a high branch. She didn't come down again. And back at home, the grandma was rocking and sewing, rocking and sewing. She said, Oh, ¿dónde está mi nieta? Estará comiendo muchos pastelitos con miel. Where is my granddaughter? She said. She must be eating a lot of little cakes with honey. And then Mediana, the middle-sized girl, she looked up and she said, Abuelita, ya acabé. I'm all done. And the grandma said, what a good girl. You can go to the store and buy some little cakes with honey. She gave her some money, and the girl ran down the street singing the same song. Tee-ree-dee-lee-lee, tee-ree-dee-lee-lee. She got to the store. The door was closed again. She knocked on the door, and the voice said, oh, ¿quién es? Who is it? She said, soy mediana. I'm the middle-sized girl. And the voice said, mediana, mediana, don't you come inside. I'm the Tragadabas. I'll swallow you alive. The girl shrugged her shoulders. Tragadabas? What's a Tragadabas? She opened the door. She went into the store, and then out jumped the Tragadabas. The girl started to run. She came running out of the store. She ran away up the street as fast as her middle-sized legs would carry her. She came to the same tree. She climbed up to a higher branch. She didn't come down again. And back at home, la abuelita se mecía y cosía. Se mecía y cosía. The grandma was rocking and sewing. She said, oh, ¿dónde están mis nietas? Estarán comiendo muchos pastelitos con miel. Where are those girls? They must be eating a lot of little cakes with honey. And then Grandota, the great big girl, looked up. You know what she said? Abuelita, ya acabé. And you know what the grandma said? Qué buena niña. Puedes ir a la tienda para comprarte pastelitos con miel. You can go buy some little cakes with honey. Le dio dinero. Her grandma gave her some money. She ran down the street singing, tee-ree-dee-lee-lee, tee-ree-dee-lee-lee. She got to the store. La puerta estaba cerrada. The door was closed. Llamó a la puerta. Oh, ¿quién es? Ooh, this was a big girl. She was actually in the 7th grade. She answered like this. Soy grandota. I'm the great big girl. And the monster said, Grandota, Grandota, don't you come inside. I'm the Tragadabas. I'll swallow you alive. She said, Tragadabas. What's a Tragadabas? Abrió la puerta. Entró en la tienda. Se le salió el Tragadabas. The girl started to run. She came running out of the store. She ran away up the street as fast as her great big legs would carry her. She came to the tree. She climbed up to the highest branch of all. No volvió para abajo. She didn't come down again. And at home, the grandma said, "Where are those girls? Vale más que yo vaya a buscarlas. I had better go and look for them." She took her walking stick and she started down the street. Tee-ree-dee-lee-lee, tee-ree-dee-lee-lee. She got to the store. With her walking stick, she knocked on the door. Oh, ¿quién es? She said, "Soy la abuelita. I am the grandma." And the monster said, "Abuelita, abuelita, no entres para acá. Soy el Tragadabas y te voy a tragar." That's the same thing he's been saying to everybody. "I'm gonna swallow you. Te voy a tragar." But he said the whole thing to the grandma in Spanish. You know why? Because the first time I ever heard about this monster, a grandma told me about it. And the grandma who told me the story, she spoke Spanish. That grandma liked to speak Spanish more than English. Maybe you even have a grandma who speaks another language besides English. It wouldn't surprise me because I know something about grandmas. Grandmas are smart. They are. Grandmas are smart. And the grandma knew all about the terrible Tragadabas. She said, "El Tragadabas, he must have swallowed my granddaughters." The grandma walked away, crying to herself. But somebody came flying up the street. It was someone who smelled the honey nobody's been eating at the store. She likes honey. It was a big bee, a bumblebee. The bee saw the grandma, and the bee said, Abuelita, ¿por qué está llorando? Why are you crying, Grandma? And the grandma said, It's because El Tragadabas swallowed my granddaughters. The bee pointed at her sharp little stinger, and the bee said, Yo no tengo miedo del Tragadabas. I'm not scared of the Tragadabas. And the bee went buzzing away down the street, and she was singing the song. But she didn't sing it in English. And she didn't sing it in Spanish. Of course, she sang like a bee. She got to the store. With her little foot, she knocked on the door. Oh, ¿quién es? And the bee said, Soy el abejorro y yo sé picar. Te voy a dar piquetes y te hago brincar. She said, I'm a bumblebee with a stinger on my rump. And when I start to sting you, I'm gonna make you jump. The bee flew right inside through a window and stung that monster. He hollered, Oh! He jumped into the air, and then he started to run. He came running out of the store. He ran away up the street as fast as his hairy legs would carry him. He ran right past the grandma. He ran past the tree with the girls in it. He disappeared over the hill, and the bee was stinging him at every step he took. And then down from the high branch of the tree climbed Pequeñita, the little bitty girl. Down from the higher branch of the tree climbed Mediana, the middle-sized girl. From the highest branch of all, down climbed Grandota, the great big girl. And then from the very tip-top of the tree, desde la mera merita punta del árbol, from the tip-top of the tree, down came the man who owned the store. Didn't you wonder what happened to the guy who owned the store? He got scared up the tree first. And then the bee came back again. And the man who owned the store invited everybody to come inside. And what do you think they all had to eat? Little cakes with